I came last year and I got some good networking, primarily. There's some good information, but it's primarily for the networking.
Well, for Seagate, we wanted to get a chance to meet with not only people that we're selling product to today, but their end customers. So we better understand what's important to them, and so that we can have better relationships with them and try to innovate better.
I'm working with John Posadizzi on WUPRA and with Layer Technologies, and so they invited me to come and speak here on the business of blogging.
Actually, Layered is an important partner of ours at 3Terra, and so we've been coming for the last couple of years here in order to meet their customer base and really get a one-to-one relationship with the customers to understand how they're working with the technology and how we can improve the user experience.
So it's great to get out to talk to a group of people who are not necessarily thinking entirely about search all the time. I present at a lot of search conferences, but here's a chance to get to some industry leaders who are really focused on the broader issues and really have a chance to communicate with them and talk to them about some of the things that we're doing and how it might affect what they're doing. And since it's an event full of very technically savvy people, it's a great opportunity to speak to them.
Well, I was asked to join Layer Tech conference this year as a speaker for Sun Microsystems and to address how Sun can help optimize web infrastructures at the hosting provider level, as well as in-house for people that have a blend between hosting and in-house infrastructures.
The event is going great, as always. The participation is good, and these sessions are wonderful. People are really sharing an awful lot of useful information.
It was great. It's a great chance to talk to really thoughtful, insightful people that are working on the cutting edge of technology today. And for us, that's very important because we want to be there to support them in their future.
The breakfast is pretty bad. Lunch was very good, but the breakfast is poison. I mean, honestly. I think it's great. I think that as a speaker, you wish people would sit in the front 4 rows instead of everybody sitting in the back. But I think there's some great panelists and there's some really interesting questions. And if you want to really understand some of the new technology that's coming down the pike, it's great. I think this year there's really people are starting to talk about cloud computing. In the way last year, they were explaining the grid and trying to get people excited about it. And here, 12 months later, people aren't even talking about grid anymore. It's like everything's in the cloud now. It's sort of unfortunate because there is a lot of noise in that space at this point. But I think by and large, you weren't getting the noise here. You just wish that as a whole, the people who are talking about the cloud understood the perspective that 3Terra or Layered Tech or some of the other vendors bring to it.
Boy, it went through a range of topics, talking about virtualization and security and spam control and storage and backup, and some of the basics of architecture for hosting providers and how to optimize that. I found one of the more interesting ones about blogging, the business of blogging and cloud computing, and that trend in how there's different ways to take advantages and or provide things for this trend in cloud computing.
Oh, I think it's really wonderful. There's some really good topics. The problem is the venue. It's in Vegas. And there's so many distractions, and those slot machines are so bright and shiny and sparkly, and and the naked girls and all the rest of the things. There's a lot of distractions here, so the attendance hasn't been as high as what I thought it would be, but it's been great. The people here, the caliber of the people, they know the industry. It's a different industry aspect of the industry that I'm used to working with, because I'm used to working with bloggers and people that are worried about the content. I've been talking to people that are worried about those issues, but also about the underlying code and the programs, the servers, the machines that actually run our blogs, that run our websites, and that's fascinating.
I actually had low expectations when I arrived, and I was very impressed. So I'm glad I came, even though I was on the fence at the last minute, but I'm really glad I showed up.
Well, again, it's sort of bringing all different levels of the value chain together, right? All the way from vendors to people, the resellers of the hosting, down to the end users, and understanding what the problems are. They're not all that different. Everybody's kind of talking about the same thing. And it's good to see that not everybody's isolated in what they're dealing with, but also that there could be solutions because people are coming together and talking about.
I think it raises people's awareness of what's out there, and I like the fact that they actually brought competitors together.
I think it's important to really start sharing information between the folks that are using the hosting services and developing the applications, and those of us on the vendor side that are actually building the systems, and enable us to really kind of take this to the next step and enable people to build larger services with less labor, less money, and really make them reliable and scalable and get them out into the marketplace.
Well, I think it's great to have an open format like this. I mean, I think that you'll see some people who are layer tech customers, obviously, and layer tech partners. But I think that there's also, a great opportunity for some layer tech, or I should say, a great opportunity that people who aren't necessarily in the layer tech family can come and share some of this knowledge.
I like these events. One of the biggest values I get out of them, regardless of how many people you have lined up for speaking and whoever it is going to be speaking, and the topics, which are all great to sit in and listen to the panels going on. But some of the biggest value I usually hear people get out of these things are like side discussions, personal networking, like what's going on kind of behind me right now. So, that's where I actually find most of my value too.